something that, for long-time listeners of the show, if you were here at the very first show we did in January, I talked about what is the best speech, and some people think it's the Gettysburg Address, some people think it's Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Those people are wrong. The best speech, the hottest speech there ever was, if you will, is a speech that Mayor Michael Bloomberg gave in front of City Hall at the 2012 Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest weigh-in. Okay. I'm not going to show you the whole speech. It's about 4.5 minutes long. It's on YouTube if you want to see it. I have cut kind of like a greatest hits compilation that we are going to watch. I really want you to pay attention. And I really, you gotta listen to the end because it's just the last thing he says. It's just so good. Okay, so here we go.
Anyways, I don't think there's any question this city is top dog in the culinary world. We've done international offerings to satisfy even the choosiest chow hound. I'll tell you, I'll emphasize so you'll know which one is straight down, right? But there's one iconic delicacy whose pedigree is pure NYC, and one very special occasion that elevates its consumption to gastronomic glory. And you know what I'm talking about, the Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest. Now, let me be perfectly frank. This is one of my favorite traditions. I relished it. Anyways, tomorrow tens of thousands of people will line the Coney Island Boardwalk to see the big event. They'll come to find out if Joey Jaws Chestnut will swallow the competition, or if one of their dogged pursuers will finally catch up, drop the mustard, and be pronounced wiener. No question, it's going to be a dogfight. Just think of how many we got into one sentence. That was really impressive.
You guys, this is the best speech that has ever been given. Okay. Before I tell you why I feel I should pause for a second, I'm going to explain to you my qualifications. This is why I am the best person to talk about this speech. One, I'm a professional speechwriter. That's me at the 2016 Democratic Convention. That I think was my wife, so that's of course who's going to be chairing today. Two, I love puns. That's me competing at Punderdome, which is a monthly pun competition that happens in New York City. Three, I love hot dogs. Okay, so this is a picture from, I have led a couple of hot dog tours. We call it the Tour de Frank, and it's a hot dog tour around New York City where we eat hot dogs and we rate them. Interestingly enough, you want to know where the best hot dog is in New York. I'm not talking about like full dog with toppings. I'm talking purely tubed meat right down the street at Katz's. You're going to want a pastrami sandwich. You're not going to want to do that. You go in, you make a right, go to the grill, you get the hot dog. Okay, so that's why I want to talk about this speech. When we think about what the purpose of a speech is, we normally think about something like this, right? Calling people to action for a moonshot, right? We're trying to advocate for something, we're trying to persuade people to do something. And that is true. The best tactic in order to do that is to make a connection. And I would argue that making a connection, it's not even just a tactic for something like this, it's also an end in and of itself. Because when you make a connection with people, that's kind of where political power comes from. That's how you're able to get people to do the things that you want to do. That's how you get them on your side. And while that speech was ridiculous, it's actually really, really good at making a connection. Okay, here's why. He's actually doing a few things in that speech that are really working for him. Okay, so the first one is that he's funny. Humor makes a connection, and we'll talk about why that's true. Second, authenticity. All those little breaks he has in the speech where he's like, I'm going to show you which one's real, and then the thing at the end, that's like, it's really tactical because he's showing you that he gets what's going on and that he understands it's ridiculous. The third one is context. Why? Michael Bloomberg is a billionaire. He's never voluntarily eaten a hot dog in his life. Why is he doing this? He's doing it for a reason. Like, he doesn't have to be there. He's the mayor of New York City, and he understands that, and he's using place and context and food, and that's actually super important in order to lend credence to what he's talking about. Okay, so let's start with humor. This is a really great book for anyone who's interested in speechwriting. It's by Bob Lerman. We give them out to like everyone who starts at the firm. Political Speechwriter's Companion. He has a section in there on humor and what it does. It does a few things. humor makes a point. It's a really great way of like highlighting what you want to talk about. It changes pace. It's a great way to, it's like an act break, kind of. And it also diffuses conflicts. It's a great way to like acknowledge something that like everyone's talking about with you, and then just kind of make fun of it. It also establishes a connection between the speaker and the audience. There's like literally a gulf here between the stage and the rest of you, right? Every politician has to deal with that. They're up on like a stage, they're up on a rostrum. When you make a joke, we're all laughing at the same thing. Mintaro talked about this before. Closing that gap is really critical to making a connection. And I'll prove it to you with, this was not planned. I'm gonna show you a video from Mitt Romney. It's a different video. But I want to show you Romney because one, it's just like, it's not like the funniest joke in the world, but it's a pretty like solidly written joke. And two, I think we all know Democrats can be funny, but when done right, Republicans can be funny too. Quick context, this is at the Al Smith dinner. It's a big dinner that Catholic Charities does every year, and in election years they get the two presidential candidates to do it. The context you need to know for this speech is that Mitt Romney is very rich. Okay, here we go.
Now Al, you are right, a campaign can require a lot of wardrobe changes. We, blue jeans in the morning perhaps, suits for a lunch fundraiser, sport coat for dinner, but it's nice to finally relax and to wear what Ann and I wear around the house.
Like, it's a good joke, right? It's a good joke. He's not going to be a good president. Like, it's a good joke. Okay. So specifically, we're not doing jokes, though, in this last speech. We're doing puns, and I think there's a reason for that. Okay, so this is a book called The Pun Also Rises. It's written by a guy named John Pollock, who is a national pun champion, and is also a former speechwriter in the Clinton White House. I swear to God. Okay. He has a chapter in this book called More Than, that's so good, you guys. More Than Semantics, Why Puns Matter. It's amazing. In that chapter, he talks about like why puns are important, why like puns just click for us, right? And there's a couple of things, right? They're subversive. So in politically oppressive regimes, you can use puns to kind of get around censorship, right? You're not really saying that, you're making a pun. It shows abstract thinking, it's creating meaning. You're finding connections between like sound and written out word. You're taking two ideas that aren't connected and you're putting them together in one sentence, and somehow they both make sense, right? Puns are really cool in that respect. Other people use puns to do these things, because what all these things do, it's a kind of a common acknowledgement that like, hey, we all get that language is weird, we're all doing this together, and that's why politicians like puns. Here's a politician who likes puns. This is Barack Obama's last turkey pardoning. I recommend you watch the whole thing. It's only about 10 minutes long. Again, here are some highlights.
Embarrassing my daughters with a cornucopia of dad jokes about turkeys. No way I'm cutting this habit called turkey. I want to take a moment to recognize the brave turkeys who weren't so lucky, who didn't get to ride the gravy train to freedom, and prove that they weren't chicken. We should also make sure everyone has something to eat on Thanksgiving. Of course, except the turkeys, because they're already stuffed. And when somebody at your table tells you that you've been hogging all the side dishes and you can't have any more, I hope that you respond with a creed that sums up the spirit of a hungry people. Yes, we cram.
Yes, we cram. That's so good, right? Okay. So Bloomberg is doing this on purpose, right? He's being funny, he's using puns, he's making sure we all get it, he's forming that connection with the audience. It's really, really good. It's not perfect though, because he did miss a few. For instance, he could have said that the hot dog eating contest is wonderful. He could have said that he's really happy it takes place in July on Coney Island, because otherwise it would be very chilly, obviously. And then of course he could say that the last time he saw the hot dog eating contest, it was the greatest competition he ever saw, Serge. Okay, so, humor. Second is authenticity. All those little things, remember, that he's doing in there, he's showing you that he's in on it. He's showing you that he gets it. Sometimes you're going to speak from the heart, you guys. And I put this here just because this is what you find when you Google it. I don't, like, what the fuck is this? I have no idea. Okay. But anyway, this premise of speech, of people giving a speech and then like putting the speech away because they couldn't possibly read words, they have to speak from the heart, that's a real trope. It happened to billions last night. So this idea that you can't use something scripted somehow demonstrates authenticity. And that trope it's the same reason why Beto does this shit, right? Because he's like, I can't speak at a podium, that's like too scripted, man. But if I get on a table, now I'm just talking, just you and me, right? He's getting rid of the artifice of speech giving and just talking to the people. Okay. For the record, he's not the only person who used that tactic. So this is Colbert at the Correspondence Center. For context, George Bush is sitting like right here.
I stand by this man. I stand by this man because he stands for things. Not only for things, he stands on things. Things like aircraft carriers and rubble and recently flooded city squares. And that sends a strong message that no matter what happens to America, she will always rebound with the most powerfully staged photo ops in the world.
Okay. Bloomberg is doing this too, and he does it most notably at the end in what is truly my favorite moment in all of speech writing, is when he asks, who wrote this shit? You guys, I know who wrote this shit. Okay, I figured out who Bloomberg's speechwriter was at the time of this speech, and I tweeted at him because I wanted to write about this speech. He responded, you guys, his name is Frank, okay? That's 100% true, his name is Frank Berry. He was not into it, but if you can't read this, I don't know if I can stomach a grilling on that topic. We're about to have this whole conversation in puns. Okay, here we go. So I responded, it's abundantly clear, you don't want to, could we catch up? And then I got serious. I was like, I really do want to, this is not a bit, I want to talk about this. And then Punderdome just kind of got into the conversation. It's like, oh, Brian knows puns, whatever. Okay. So then he gets back, and then he's just like, it's all stuffed. A great speech shouldn't be overdone. I'll spare you a list of my excuses, a foot long. That's so good. To which I said, I got no beef with that. Okay. Frank Berry wrote this speech. He's a genius. Okay. Third thing, context. Michael Bloomberg is doing a masterful job of using place and an event in order to communicate a persona that he wants to communicate. You see politicians do this all the time, right? It's like every politician you've ever seen goes to a factory. They don't care. They've never worked in a factory in their life, but they want to show that they're of the people and that they understand. They're using place and context in order to do that. In this speech, Kennedy makes a joke. Why do we do the hard things? He has this list of why do we do this? Why do we do that? And then he says, he's giving the speech in Houston, he says, why does Rice play Texas? That's a really funny joke in Houston because Texas is a very good football team and Rice is a school for nerds. The idea being, why do we do these hard things? Why do we do them? Not because they're easy, but because they're hard. Okay. But he's purposely using context in order to get that point across. We do this all the time. That's John Kasich, and he's on Arthur Avenue eating the biggest sandwich in the world. Why is he doing this, right? He's trying to show that he's just one of the guys. And food is a really powerful way of doing that because eating is something we all do. And if you do it wrong, it's a real fuck up, right? There's de Blasio, I don't know what he's doing. That's a piece of why it's a pizza? Why is he doing that? Okay. So, similarly, I know this looks stupid, and I know it doesn't make sense, but it's genius, because Michael Bloomberg, the technocratic billionaire mayor of New York, who does not care about Nathan's hot dogs at all, is using this quintessential event and purely New York food to say, I'm the mayor of New York, I'm just like you guys, you can respect me because of that, and therefore when I ask you to do something, you should do it. It's a really good speech, you guys. He's making a connection, he's using humor, he's acknowledging how ridiculous it is in order to communicate authenticity, and he's leveraging the context of the situation in order to gain more power from it. And that, you guys, is how the sausage gets made. Thanks so much.